She sheltered the shivering traveler behind the diner. The next morning, his security filled the street. Hello, everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's dive into the story. It was one of those bitterly cold winter nights in a small town, the kind where the air feels like it's been carved from ice. The kind of night that made even the most seasoned travelers second-guess their decision to be out in the open. And yet, in the middle of it, a lone figure trudged down the snow-covered street, his breath visible in the freezing air. His coat, expensive and clearly made for much milder weather, flapped against his legs as he moved forward, determined but vulnerable. That man, a stranger to the quiet little town, had no idea that this night would change everything for him. As he approached the only diner in the area, the lights inside flickered warmly against the bitter night. Inside, Emma, a young waitress in her mid-20s, was wiping down the last of the tables, ready to close up and head home. She had seen countless travelers come and go through the diner's creaky old doors, but tonight felt different. Maybe it was the heaviness in the air, or the fact that she had just learned that her mother's condition was worsening. Either way, she wasn't prepared for what was about to happen. The door opened with a soft jingle, and in stepped the man, looking every bit like a wealthy businessman. But the weather had clearly taken its toll on him. He shook the snow from his coat, his face pale from the cold. His eyes scanned the room, clearly searching for some sign of warmth, not just from the room, but from the people inside. Emma caught his gaze as he made his way to the counter, his expression a mix of exhaustion and embarrassment. Without hesitation, she walked over to him with a warm smile, despite the weight of her own troubles. "Good evening, sir. What can I get you?" she asked, her voice professional but soft, welcoming him into the warmth of the diner. The man hesitated for a moment before answering, his voice hoarse. "I don't suppose you have something hot to drink, do you?" "Of course," Emma said, already turning to prepare a cup of hot coffee. She set the cup in front of him and noticed the way his hands shook as he picked it up. "You look like you could use a bit more than just a drink to warm up. Why don't you come sit in the back? It's warmer there," she suggested kindly, her instinct to help kicking in. The man glanced at her, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. He was used to being served, not invited to sit with the staff. But something in her genuine offer made him reconsider. "Thank you," he said quietly, a hint of vulnerability slipping through. Emma led him to the small corner of the diner where the heat worked the best. She offered him a seat and then quickly returned to her duties, but her mind kept drifting back to the man sitting there. He was different from the usual clientele, and she couldn't shake the feeling that this night wasn't just another ordinary shift. The storm outside grew worse as the night wore on, and Emma's attention never strayed too far from the traveler. When her shift was finally over, she found herself looking back at him as she grabbed her coat. The man, still sitting in the warmth, looked up at her with gratitude. "I appreciate your kindness tonight," he said. "It's the least I could do," Emma replied with a soft smile before heading out the back door, unaware that this simple act of kindness would set off a chain of events that would change her life forever. The next morning, as the storm passed, the streets were eerily quiet, but the diner was far from empty. As Emma arrived to start her shift, she was shocked to see the street lined with black cars and large SUVs, the kind of vehicles that seemed completely out of place in her small town. She stepped inside to find the diner's parking lot filled with security personnel, all eyes on her as she entered. The man from the night before, now dressed in an impeccably tailored suit, was standing near the front. He smiled as she walked in, his expression filled with a mix of admiration and respect. "I hope you don't mind the attention," he said, "but I wanted to make sure you were taken care of after what you did for me last night." Emma blinked, unsure of what was happening. She had only offered kindness, but somehow it had led to this moment, where the quiet waitress and the shivering traveler were now caught in a web of gratitude and transformation. The next day, Emma arrived at the diner to begin her shift as usual, but the sight that greeted her made her stop in her tracks. The street, which was usually quiet in the morning, was now lined with an impressive row of black SUVs and sleek sedans. The air felt heavy, as if the city itself was holding its breath. She could see the figures of security guards moving around the parked cars, their presence a sharp contrast to the humble nature of the diner. Emma's heart raced as she tried to make sense of what was happening. She stepped inside, hesitating for just a moment, her hand gripping the door handle tightly. The usual warm, familiar smells of coffee and breakfast filled the air, but today, there was something different. Something was off. The bell above the door jingled softly, and immediately, she was met with the curious gazes of several well-dressed individuals, all watching her intently. At first, she thought they were just customers, but when her eyes landed on the man from last night, she froze. He was standing by the counter, looking as composed and immaculate as before, his expensive suit almost glowing under the diner's fluorescent lights. His eyes met hers, and a slight smile tugged at the corner of his lips. He motioned for her to come over. "Good morning, Emma," he said, his voice carrying an unexpected warmth. "I hope you don't mind the crowd outside." His words caught her off guard. She glanced around the room, still trying to make sense of the situation. The usual morning buzz of customers was absent, replaced by a heavy silence as everyone awaited her response. What is all of this?" she asked, her voice soft and uncertain. The man's smile widened, and he stepped forward slightly, lowering his voice as he spoke. "I wanted to thank you properly for your kindness last night. You helped me when I needed it most, and I haven't forgotten that." Emma was still processing his words when he continued. "I've had my security detail set up outside to ensure everything goes smoothly, but I assure you, this isn't a threat, just a way to show my appreciation." The magnitude of his words hit her all at once, and she felt the weight of the moment settle over her. This was not a simple thank you, not the kind she had ever imagined when offering a stranger help. She had just done what anyone would do in her place, yet here she was, standing in front of a billionaire, surrounded by his security, with no idea what would come next. "I'm not sure how to respond," Emma said, her voice barely a whisper. "You don't have to say anything," he replied, his expression softening. "I know I can't repay you for what you did, but I'd like to offer you something. You've been working hard here for so long, and I can see the effort you put into everything, even when no one is watching." She blinked, unsure of where this conversation was heading. "I don't need anything," she said quickly. "I just did what anyone would do." He shook his head, a knowing look in his eyes. "I disagree. You deserve more than just gratitude." His words were sincere, and Emma found herself caught between the desire to stay humble and the strange pull of curiosity about what he might offer. "What are you offering me?" she asked before she could stop herself. The man took a deep breath and looked around the diner, his gaze briefly flickering to the staff and the quiet customers seated at their tables. "I want to help you," he said simply. "I want to invest in this place, in your future. You've been here, making this diner a success despite all odds. That deserves recognition." Emma could barely believe what she was hearing. Was he really suggesting what she thought? He went on, his tone steady. "I know a great deal of people who can help you get the diner to the next level. We can expand, make it a place known across the city, maybe even across the country." His eyes were focused on her now, waiting for a reaction. "I can't ask for that," Emma replied, shaking her head. "This place is mine. It's where I belong. I don't want to change it." The man nodded, as if he had anticipated her response. "I understand. But think of it this way, Emma. You wouldn't just be helping yourself. You'd be helping the people who work here, the ones who depend on this place for their livelihood. And you'd be able to take care of your mother. I know it's not easy, but you've done so much with so little." His words lingered in the air, and Emma felt a twinge of guilt, the reminder of her mother's illness weighing heavily on her heart. She had struggled so hard to make ends meet, and now, someone was offering her a way out. But at what cost? She stared at him, torn between the safety of her life here and the temptation of a future she had never imagined for herself. The man gave her space to think, his gaze softening as he stepped back slightly. "I'll leave the decision up to you," he said. "But just know, whatever you decide, I'm here to help. No strings attached. You've earned it." Emma stood there, still trying to process the whirlwind of emotions and possibilities swirling inside her. She had been just a waitress in a small diner, and now she was facing an opportunity that could change everything. What would she do next? Emma spent the next few days in a daze, replaying the encounter over and over in her mind. She had never imagined that a simple act of kindness, a gesture to help a stranger, would lead to something so life-altering. The offer from the man, the billionaire who had appeared out of nowhere, seemed like a dream. A dream she wasn't sure she was ready to wake up from. She found herself unable to focus at work, constantly looking out the window of the diner, her thoughts drifting to the possibilities of what her life could become. The warmth of the diner, the sound of clinking dishes and the chatter of customers, felt like a lifetime ago. She couldn't stop thinking about the future, the opportunity to grow the diner into something larger, something beyond her small-town existence. But with that possibility came a sense of unease. What would that life look like? Was she ready to leave behind everything she had built? Here, Emma was used to her quiet life. The diner had been a steady place, a home of sorts. The familiar faces, the routine, the simple pleasures of helping people in small ways, it was enough. Or at least it had been. Now, the allure of something bigger, something grander, tugged at her. She had never asked for fame or wealth, and she certainly didn't need the complications that came with it. But the man had been persistent. His words kept echoing in her mind. You've earned it. The thought of taking care of her mother without the constant stress of money, of securing the diner's future, was tempting. But it was more than that. She had worked so hard for everything she had, and now, just like that, someone was offering to hand her something she never thought possible. The diner could be more than just a place for a warm meal. It could be a symbol of success, a testament to her hard work and dedication. But would that change her? Would it change who she was, who she had become in this little town? The man, Jack Anderson, had made it clear that he wasn't offering her this for his own gain. He had no strings attached, no agenda other than to help. But how could she trust someone who had so much power, so much influence? Was this all just a game for him? Another opportunity to flex his muscles in a world where he could get anything he wanted? She thought back to that moment when he had offered her help, his security team standing outside, the massive black cars parked along the street. It had all seemed so surreal, and yet, the sincerity in his eyes had been undeniable. Emma had never been one to shy away from hard work. She had built this diner with her own 2 hands, made it a place people wanted to come back to. She had done everything on her own, without the luxury of outside help. And now, someone was offering her a way out of the struggle. The question was she ready to take it? As the days passed, she found herself still undecided. Emma would catch glimpses of Jack when he visited the diner, sitting in the corner booth, his presence commanding yet not overbearing. She could see the way he watched her, the way he took in every movement, every word she said. It was as if he was studying her, trying to understand her. And, in a way, she was doing the same. He was a man who had everything: money, power, influence. And yet, there was something about him that made her curious. She had seen men like him before, men who only cared about what they could get, but Jack was different. He seemed to genuinely care about her, and that made her question everything. Could someone with so much wealth really understand what it was like to struggle, to fight for every dollar? Could someone like him see her as an equal, as someone worthy of the opportunity he was offering? One evening, after her shift had ended, Emma was walking home when she saw Jack standing outside the diner, his hands in his pockets, his eyes scanning the horizon. She paused for a moment, unsure if she should approach him. He turned and saw her, his face softening with a genuine smile. "Emma," he said, his voice warm. "I've been thinking a lot about our conversation, and I wanted to let you know, there's no pressure. I understand if this isn't something you want." His words caught her off guard. She had expected him to push, to try to convince her that she needed to take this opportunity, but he didn't. Instead, he seemed to respect her decision, whatever it would be. That's when she realized that he wasn't just offering her a chance to change her life. He was giving her the power to choose. He wasn't taking anything away from her. He was simply offering her a new path. And that path, while uncertain, could lead to something greater than she had ever imagined. Emma stood there for a moment, letting his words sink in. She knew what she had to do. The next day, she called him. "I'm ready," she said. "I'll take the opportunity. But I want to do this my way, on my terms." Jack's voice came through the phone, his tone filled with relief and excitement. "Of course, Emma. We'll make it work, together." And just like that, everything began to change. The diner was no longer just a small-town eatery. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one where Emma would learn what it truly meant to accept help, to trust in the unknown, and to take a leap of faith into a future she had never dared to dream of. The next few weeks were a whirlwind for Emma. She could hardly keep up with the changes as the once small diner began to transform into something much bigger than she had ever imagined. With Jack's help, the diner was no longer just a place for locals to grab a cup of coffee and a quick bite to eat. It had the potential to become a destination, a place that people from all over the city, and eventually the country, would come to visit. Jack, along with his team of experts, helped her redesign the space, making it cozier, yet more upscale, with a modern touch that would appeal to a broader audience. The new layout featured comfortable seating, a well-curated menu, and a more efficient kitchen. But despite all the changes, Emma insisted on keeping the heart of the diner intact. The warm, welcoming atmosphere and the close-knit feel would remain. The shift from a small-town diner to something more prominent was a massive leap, and Emma was both excited and terrified at the same time. She was overwhelmed with the responsibility, but Jack was always there to guide her, offering advice and encouragement whenever she needed it. He believed in her, and that belief made her feel like she could accomplish anything. As the new diner began to take shape, Emma's confidence grew. She found herself stepping into her new role, not just as a waitress, but as a businesswoman. Jack had given her more than just a financial opportunity. He had given her the tools to believe in herself and her ability to succeed. Emma started making decisions on her own, whether it was choosing the right suppliers for fresh ingredients or approving new designs for the diner's branding. Jack was still there, overseeing things, but he was stepping back, letting her take the reins. And that felt good. But with success came a new set of challenges. The diner's popularity skyrocketed faster than Emma could have ever imagined. Soon, there were waiting lists, reservations booked weeks in advance, and staff to manage. Emma worked long hours, overseeing the kitchen, the floor, and making sure everything ran smoothly. The pressure was constant, but with it came a deep sense of fulfillment. She was living her dream, but the weight of responsibility was heavy. Jack could see the strain in her eyes. Despite his best efforts to help, he knew that running a business like this came with its own set of pressures. He tried to ease her burden by offering to take on some of the more logistical aspects of the business. He arranged meetings with investors, helped secure additional funding, and even hired more staff to assist with the growing demand. But Emma was proud. She didn't want to give up control. She wanted to prove that she could do this on her own. And yet, sometimes, she couldn't help but wonder if she was truly ready for all of this. One evening, as the diner was packed with customers, Emma found herself in the back, taking a brief break. She leaned against the counter, trying to catch her breath. It was a rare moment of peace in the midst of the chaos. Just then, Jack walked in, his usual confident demeanor replaced with a more thoughtful expression. "How are you holding up?" he asked gently. Emma smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. "I'm managing," she replied, but even to her own ears, it sounded like a lie. Jack walked over to her, his presence calming. "I know it's a lot, but I want you to remember that you're not alone in this. You don't have to carry the weight of it all by yourself." Emma looked at him, the truth of his words sinking in. She had been pushing herself so hard, afraid that if she asked for help, it would mean she wasn't capable. But maybe he was right. Maybe it was time to lean on the people who cared about her and the team she had built. Jack placed a hand on her shoulder, his touch reassuring. "You've already accomplished so much, Emma. You've built something incredible. Don't let the pressure make you forget that." Emma nodded, feeling a lump form in her throat. She had come so far, but sometimes it was hard to see how much she had achieved when she was focused on what still needed to be done. "Thanks, Jack," she said, her voice quiet. "I don't know what I'd do without you." He smiled, the warmth in his eyes evident. "You don't have to do anything alone. You've got this, and I'll be here to help however I can." Emma stood there for a moment, letting the weight of his words settle in. Maybe it was time to let go of some of the pressure, to trust others more, and to believe in herself as much as Jack believed in her. The next morning, Emma woke up with a new sense of purpose. She wasn't going to let the weight of the diner's success break her. She had come this far, and with Jack's support, she knew she could keep going. She walked into the diner with a renewed sense of confidence, ready to face the challenges ahead. The diner was thriving, and so was she. She had taken a leap of faith, and now it was paying off. But the journey was far from over. There would always be challenges, always more to learn. But for the first time in a long time, Emma felt like she was truly in control of her own future. As the weeks went by, Emma's diner continued to grow in popularity, and so did the pressure that came with it. She had successfully transformed the small, humble diner into a bustling hotspot, attracting food critics, tourists, and even celebrities. The once quiet establishment now buzzed with energy day and night, and Emma had to work tirelessly to keep everything running smoothly. Despite the constant challenges, there were moments when she stood in the middle of the diner, surveying the busy dining area with pride. This was her dream becoming a reality, yet it wasn't without its complications. She felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders more than ever. The diner had become a brand, a reflection of her hard work, and with that came expectations. Emma couldn't help but wonder if she was losing herself in the process. The pressure to succeed was overwhelming at times, and despite the support from Jack and her team, she still carried the burden alone. One evening, after another long shift, Emma sat in the back of the diner, sipping on a cup of coffee, staring out the window at the city lights. She had been so focused on expanding the diner, improving the brand, and ensuring its success that she had barely had time to think about her own life. Her mother, who had been in and out of the hospital for the past few months, had been taking a back seat in her mind. Emma hadn't realized how much she had been neglecting her until one night, when she received a call from her mother's doctor. "Emma, you need to come in." The doctor's voice was serious, almost too serious. "We've been monitoring your mother's condition, and it's deteriorating faster than we expected." Emma's heart sank. She had known her mother's health had been declining, but hearing those words felt like a punch to the gut. She had been so consumed by the diner, trying to build something meaningful, that she had almost forgotten the most important person in her life. After the call, Emma found herself in the hospital, sitting by her mother's bedside. Her mother, who had always been her pillar of strength, now looked fragile and weak. Emma took her mother's hand, her heart heavy with guilt. "I'm so sorry, Mom," Emma whispered, her voice trembling. "I've been so focused on the diner. I've been neglecting you." Her mother, with the little strength she had left, smiled softly and squeezed Emma's hand. "Emma, darling, you've worked so hard. I'm proud of you. Don't worry about me." Tears welled up in Emma's eyes. "But I should be here more. I should be taking care of you." Her mother's smile faded into a more serious expression. "You've already given me everything I need. You've built something amazing. You're strong, Emma. Don't forget that." Emma stayed at the hospital with her mother for the next few days, reflecting on the choices she had made. She realized that while she had worked hard to make the diner a success, she had lost sight of the things that truly mattered. The diner was important, but it wasn't everything. Her mother, her family, her happiness, those were the things she had to hold on to. The night before she was scheduled to return to the diner, Emma sat in the quiet of her mother's room, her thoughts racing. She knew she needed to make some changes. She couldn't keep going at this pace, sacrificing her well-being and her relationships for the sake of success. The next morning, after her mother's condition had stabilized, Emma made a decision. She would not let the diner consume her life any longer. She would delegate more responsibilities to her trusted team and lean on Jack for guidance, but she would also make time for herself and her family. She couldn't do it all, and that was okay. The diner would continue to thrive, but Emma would no longer let it define her. When she returned to the diner, she called a meeting with Jack and her team. "I've been thinking a lot about how we've been running things," Emma began, her voice steady but determined. "And I've realized that while we've achieved so much, I can't keep going at this pace. I need to step back a bit, delegate more, and focus on the things that matter most to me, my family and my own well-being." Jack listened intently, nodding in understanding. "I think that's a wise decision, Emma," he said, his voice filled with respect. "You've built something incredible, but you can't keep giving everything to it and nothing to yourself. We'll support you in this. We'll figure it out together." Emma smiled, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she was making a choice for herself. She wasn't sacrificing her happiness for the sake of success. The next few months were a time of adjustment. Emma spent more time with her mother, helping her through her treatments, and focusing on her own health and happiness. The diner continued to thrive, but Emma's role had shifted. She was no longer the one running every detail, but she was still the heart of the business, guiding her team and ensuring its success from a healthier, more balanced perspective. Jack had been right. She didn't have to do it all herself. She had people around her who cared and supported her. She wasn't alone in this journey. Emma had found a new sense of peace, one that came from understanding that success wasn't just about building a business, but about living a life worth living. It was about balance, love, and knowing when to let go. And as she watched the diner continue to grow, she realized that this new chapter, this new approach to life, was the most rewarding thing she had ever done. As the months passed, Emma's life began to take on a new rhythm. The diner, while still thriving, had transformed into something greater than just a business. It had become a reflection of her growth, her understanding of balance, and her commitment to her own well-being. Emma found herself taking more time for herself, something that once seemed impossible amidst the hustle of the diner's success. She spent afternoons with her mother, enjoying quiet moments together, and for the first time in a long while, Emma felt like she was truly present in her own life. The days of running herself ragged to ensure everything at the diner was perfect were behind her. Emma had learned that it was okay to step back and trust others. Jack, who had become not just a business partner but a friend, had proven invaluable in supporting her transition. He had always been there when she needed him, but now, he respected her boundaries, offering help only when she asked for it. He had proven himself time and time again as someone who truly cared about her success, not just in business, but in life. As Emma settled into this new chapter, something unexpected happened. One evening, after a busy dinner shift, Emma received a call from Jack. His voice was unusually serious. "Emma, we need to talk about something important," he said. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She had grown used to Jack's calm demeanor, so hearing him sound concerned made her pause. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice a bit shaky with anticipation. "I've been working on something behind the scenes," Jack began, "and I think it's time we discuss expanding the diner once again. But this time, I'm thinking much bigger." Emma listened carefully, intrigued but cautious. She had come so far in creating a balance between work and personal life that the thought of expanding the business again was both exciting and overwhelming. "I'm not sure," Emma responded, trying to gauge the direction he was heading in. "I don't want to lose what we've worked so hard to build. I don't want the diner to become something that consumes me again." Jack reassured her, his tone gentle but confident. "I get it, Emma. You've built something incredible here, and I'm not suggesting we change the essence of what this diner is. What I'm proposing is that we open a second location in a city nearby, something that mirrors the success of this place, but with the same heart. We'll keep the small-town charm, but with a broader reach. It could be an opportunity for you to keep doing what you love while also bringing in a larger community." Emma felt a surge of excitement mixed with apprehension. A second location was a big step, but it also felt like a chance to grow without sacrificing the authenticity of what they had. "I've been thinking a lot about it," Jack continued, "and I know you've got the strength to make it happen. You've built this place with your own hands, and I believe you can build something even greater at your own pace." Emma paused, reflecting on everything that had led her to this point. She thought of the long hours, the hard work, the moments when she had felt lost in the process, and yet, the pride she felt every time she walked into the diner. It was more than just a business to her, it was her legacy. "Okay," she said slowly, "let's talk about it. But this time, I'm going to make sure I do it on my terms." Jack smiled, the relief in his voice evident. "That's all I'm asking for, Emma. You're the one driving this, not me." With that, Emma felt the weight of the decision begin to shift. She wasn't just being swept along by circumstances. She was in control, and this next step would be hers to navigate. Over the next few weeks, Emma and Jack worked together to outline the plan for the new location. They scouted potential sites, met with architects, and devised a strategy that would allow them to expand without losing the intimate feel of the original diner. Emma had learned to trust Jack's expertise, but she also made sure her own voice was heard in every decision. This time, it wasn't about following someone else's vision. It was about creating her own. When the day came to sign the lease for the new location, Emma stood in front of the building, her hand hovering over the contract. This was a pivotal moment, and she knew it. She was stepping into a new chapter, one that would come with its own challenges, but also with the promise of growth and new opportunities. She looked at Jack, who stood beside her, his calm presence grounding her. "We're doing this, aren't we?" she asked, her voice a mix of excitement and uncertainty. "We are," Jack replied, his smile genuine. "But remember, you're not alone. You've got this. We've got this." With that, Emma signed the lease, marking the beginning of something new. The second location wouldn't just be a way to expand her business. It would be a testament to how far she had come. She had built the first diner from the ground up, and now she was ready to do it again, with the lessons she had learned along the way. As she walked out of the building, Jack by her side, Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. She had stayed true to herself, stayed true to the values that had made the diner so special in the first place. And now, with a new opportunity on the horizon, Emma knew that this was just the beginning of an even greater adventure. As the months passed, Emma's new venture started to take shape. The second diner location, a bigger and more modern space than the original, was quickly gaining attention in the neighboring city. The new design had a fresh, vibrant atmosphere, but Emma insisted on keeping the essence of the original diner: the warmth, the friendly service, and the welcoming atmosphere. The initial challenges were daunting: hiring and training a new staff, adapting to the needs of a larger and more diverse customer base, and ensuring the quality of food and service stayed consistent with the first diner were just a few of the hurdles Emma faced. She spent long hours overseeing the construction, meeting with contractors, and even helping train the new employees. It was exhausting, but Emma felt a renewed sense of purpose. This wasn't just about expanding her business. It was about proving to herself that she could balance her personal life with her professional ambitions. Despite the stress, she was proud of what they were building. The new diner opened its doors to the public with great fanfare, and Emma stood in the middle of the bustling dining room, looking around at the happy customers enjoying their meals. She couldn't help but smile. The hard work had paid off, and the new location was thriving. But with success came even more challenges. The constant flow of customers, the increasing demands of the business, and the pressure to maintain the high standards she had set were starting to take their toll on Emma. The late nights, the endless meetings, and the never-ending to-do lists were wearing her down. She found herself becoming short-tempered with her staff, snapping at them when things didn't go as planned. She was overwhelmed. It was at this point that Jack stepped in. He had been watching her closely, noticing the signs of burnout, and he knew it was time to have a serious conversation. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day, Jack found Emma sitting alone in the back office, her head in her hands. He knocked on the door before entering. "Emma, we need to talk," he said gently. Emma looked up, her face tired and drawn. "I know," she sighed. "I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. The diner is doing well, but I feel like I'm losing myself in all of this. I'm constantly running from one thing to the next, and I'm not taking care of myself anymore." Jack sat down across from her, his expression serious. "I've noticed," he said quietly, "and I think it's time for you to take a step back, even if just for a little while. You've built something incredible, but you're not going to be able to keep it going if you burn out." Emma shook her head. "I can't afford to take a break. The business needs me, the staff needs me. If I step away, everything will fall apart." Jack smiled softly. "You've trained your team well, Emma. They're capable. You've created a foundation that will support you, even when you need to take a breath. It's okay to let go, even if just for a little while." Emma looked at him, her heart heavy. She knew he was right, but it was hard to accept. She had always prided herself on being in control, on handling everything herself. But she also knew that she couldn't continue at this pace without eventually breaking. "What if I fail?" she asked quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack leaned forward, his eyes warm and reassuring. "You won't fail. You've already succeeded in ways that most people could only dream of. But you need to take care of yourself first. If you don't, everything else will fall apart, too." Emma let his words sink in. She had always believed that if she worked hard enough, she could handle it all on her own. But the reality was that she couldn't do it all. And asking for help, taking a step back, didn't make her weak, it made her strong. With Jack's encouragement, Emma decided to take a short break from the day-to-day operations of the diner. She handed over the reins to her trusted team, knowing that they were ready. Over the next few days, she allowed herself to rest, to spend time with her mother, and to reflect on everything she had accomplished. It was exactly what she needed. When she returned to the diner, she felt rejuvenated. She was ready to face the challenges ahead, but with a new perspective. She didn't have to do it all herself. And, with the support of her team, Jack, and her family, she knew she could continue to grow and succeed without losing herself in the process. The diner wasn't just her responsibility. It was a shared vision, and together, they would continue to build something extraordinary. Emma had settled into a rhythm that she had not thought possible just a few months ago. The diner was thriving, the second location was running smoothly, and most importantly, she was finally finding the balance she had been searching for. With the weight of managing the business spread out between her and her capable team, she was able to enjoy time with her mother and focus on her personal life without feeling the constant pressure that had once consumed her. But even as everything seemed to be going well, Emma was beginning to feel the familiar stirrings of something more, something beyond the diner. Jack had been right. She had built something incredible, but now it was time to look beyond the walls of the diner and explore what other opportunities might be out there for her. One evening, after closing the diner and spending some quiet time with her mother, Emma found herself sitting in the office, staring at the city lights outside. Her phone buzzed with a message from Jack. "Hey Emma, I've been thinking about you lately. I know you've been focused on the diner, but I wanted to ask if you've thought more about expanding your reach outside of the diner. You've got the potential to do more than just run a business." Emma's heart raced. She had always admired Jack's ability to see the bigger picture, but the idea of taking on something new, something outside of the world she had carefully built, felt both thrilling and terrifying. She typed a quick response. "What do you mean, Jack? I've got my hands full with the diner already." He replied almost immediately. I know, but I also know that you're capable of so much more. You've got the skills, the vision, and the determination. What if you could take the principles that made the diner successful and apply them to something even bigger? You've been through the ups and downs of building a brand. You know how to create something from scratch. What if you could help others do the same? Emma stared at the screen, processing his words. Could she really do that? Could she take the lessons she had learned and help others grow their businesses? The thought seemed so foreign, yet it sparked something in her, a desire to take what she had learned and use it to make a larger impact. I don't know, Jack, Emma typed slowly. It's a huge step. I'm not sure I'm ready to branch out like that. Jack's reply came quickly. You don't have to do it alone. We can build it together, just like we did with the diner. You've already proved that you're capable of so much more than you give yourself credit for. And besides, I think you'll find that it's just as rewarding to help others succeed as it is to build your own business. Emma put her phone down and leaned back in her chair, deep in thought. She had always prided herself on building something with her own two hands, on making the diner a place that was entirely hers. The idea of stepping into a new role, of being someone who helped others build their businesses, felt like a natural progression. She had worked so hard to get to this point, and now, perhaps, it was time to see how far she could push herself. The next few days were filled with reflection. Emma knew that the idea of mentoring and helping others was something she had always been passionate about, but it had never been something she had actively pursued. She had spent so much time focusing on her own success that she hadn't taken the time to consider how much she could give back to others. She had the experience, the wisdom, and the knowledge to guide other entrepreneurs, and the more she thought about it, the more excited she became. After a long conversation with Jack, Emma made the decision. She was going to take the leap. She was going to start a mentorship program for aspiring entrepreneurs, helping them build businesses the way she had. She would take everything she had learned and turn it into something that could empower others. She called Jack to share the news. I'm in, she said, her voice filled with excitement. I'm ready to help others build their businesses. Let's do it. Jack's voice was filled with enthusiasm. I knew you'd say that. You're going to be incredible at this, Emma. I can't wait to see where this takes you. Emma's heart swelled with pride. She knew that this would be a new chapter in her life, one that would challenge her in ways she hadn't expected. But it also felt right. She had built the diner from the ground up, and now it was time to help others do the same. As she looked out the window, she realized that she was ready for whatever came next. The journey of building her business had taught her valuable lessons, and now, she was ready to share those lessons with the world. With Jack by her side, she was ready to make a difference, not just in her own life, but in the lives of others as well. This was the next step in her journey, and it was one she couldn't wait to take. As Emma dove into her new role as a mentor for aspiring entrepreneurs, she quickly realized that the challenges were different, but equally as demanding. The mentorship program she had set up was designed to give others the tools she had used to build her business, but now it was time for her to teach what she had learned. Each day was filled with new faces, eager to hear her advice, learn from her experience, and build something from the ground up. Emma's first few meetings were a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She had always been the one in charge, but now she had to pass on her knowledge to others. She quickly learned that not every person would take her advice the same way, and not everyone was ready for the responsibility that came with running a business. But with every success story, with every entrepreneur she helped find their footing, Emma felt a sense of fulfillment that she had never experienced before. It wasn't just about giving advice. It was about empowering others to make their dreams a reality. As the months passed, the mentorship program flourished. Emma found herself balancing her time between the diner and her growing group of men's. At first, it was a challenge, but she soon realized that both worlds could coexist. The diner was still thriving, and her new role as a mentor was allowing her to connect with other passionate individuals. But one thing that became clear was that the more Emma helped others, the more she learned about herself. She had started this journey with the belief that she was building her business for herself, but now she understood that success wasn't just about personal achievement. It was about helping others reach their full potential. One afternoon, as Emma was meeting with one of her men's, a young woman named Rachel, who had recently opened her own bakery, she found herself reflecting on how much had changed in such a short period of time. Rachel was sitting across from her, full of excitement and nervous energy. "I don't know if I can do this," Rachel said, her hands fidgeting with the coffee cup in front of her. "I've invested everything I have into this bakery, but I'm scared that I'm going to fail." Emma smiled softly, remembering the exact same feelings when she first started her diner. "Rachel," she said, her voice calm and reassuring, "I know exactly how you feel. When I first started, I was terrified. But you have something I didn't have back then. You have a support system, and you have the knowledge to make it work. The fear never completely goes away, but what matters is what you do with it. Use it as fuel, not something that holds you back." Rachel looked at her, her eyes filled with doubt, but also hope. "I really want this to work," she said, her voice steadying. "I believe in what I'm doing, but I don't know if I have the strength to keep going." Emma nodded, remembering the long nights she spent wondering if it would all fall apart. "Rachel, strength isn't about never feeling doubt. It's about getting up every day and showing up, even when it's hard. You've already done the hardest part. You started. Now, just take it one day at a time." Rachel smiled, a small but genuine smile that made Emma's heart swell. Emma knew that Rachel, like so many others she had mentored, was on the path to something incredible. It wasn't about giving them all the answers. It was about empowering them to find their own way, to take the lessons and apply them to their unique situation. Emma walked Rachel out of the diner, watching as the young woman headed back to her bakery, determined to make her dream a reality. As Emma turned back inside, she couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. She had created something that wasn't just about her anymore. It was about a community of people who believed in themselves and in each other. That was the true reward. As she sat back in her office later that day, her phone buzzed with a message from Jack. "How's everything going?" it read. Emma smiled, knowing exactly how to respond. "It's going great," she typed back. "I'm learning just as much as they are." Jack's response came almost immediately. "That's the beauty of it, isn't it? You can't teach what you don't know. You're making an impact, Emma. Keep going." And with those words, Emma knew that she was exactly where she was meant to be. She had built her business from the ground up, but now, she was building something even more meaningful, helping others achieve their dreams, just as she had done. The diner was no longer just her legacy. It was part of something bigger. And in that moment, Emma realized that the true measure of success wasn't just about what she had achieved. It was about what she had helped others accomplish. She had found her purpose, and it was more fulfilling than anything she had ever imagined. As Emma's mentorship program continued to grow, so did her sense of fulfillment. The diner was thriving, and now she had a network of entrepreneurs and business owners who were becoming a part of her extended family. She had found herself not just as a businesswoman, but as a teacher, a guide, and a mentor to many. Emma had become a cornerstone of her community, not only in the diner, but in the world of small business. She had learned that the true joy of success was not just in the achievement, but in sharing that success with others. Each success story of her mints felt like her own, and she couldn't help but feel proud of every person who took her advice, implemented it, and saw their businesses grow. But there were still challenges ahead. Emma had spent years building her diner and working with people, but she hadn't anticipated just how much more responsibility would come with the expansion. The growth of the mentorship program, the second location, and the ever-increasing demands on her time meant she had to keep a closer eye on everything, balancing her work life and her personal life in ways she had never imagined. One afternoon, after a particularly busy lunch shift, Emma found herself in her office, staring at a pile of paperwork. It was overwhelming. She had gotten used to the daily operations of the diner, but the responsibility was different now. She wasn't just the owner. She was the face of a movement, a symbol of possibility for so many people. Jack, who had been a steady presence throughout her journey, noticed her growing stress. He had seen her face this kind of pressure before, and he knew how much she had taken on. "Emma, I think it's time to take a step back and let someone else handle some of this for you," Jack said one evening, sitting across from her at the diner. "You can't do everything, no matter how much you want to. Your team is capable, and they're ready to step up." Emma looked at him, her mind racing. She had built the diner from the ground up, and she was fiercely protective of it. It wasn't just a business, it was a part of her. But Jack was right. She had built a team that was more than capable. The pressure was starting to take its toll on her, and she couldn't keep pushing herself like this. "I just feel like I'm letting everyone down if I step back," Emma admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack smiled gently. "You won't be letting anyone down, Emma. Your team respects you, and they want to see you succeed. You've given them the tools they need. Now, let them use them." Emma sighed deeply. It was hard to admit, but she knew he was right. She had built something incredible, but she had to let go of some control in order to let it truly flourish. That night, after speaking with Jack, Emma made the decision to delegate more of the diner's day-to-day operations to her trusted staff. She had always been the one making the decisions, overseeing everything, but it was time to let go. She chose a few key people to take on more responsibility, people she trusted, people who had proven themselves over time. It wasn't easy, but Emma knew it was the right thing to do. In the weeks that followed, she began to take a step back, trusting her team to manage the everyday tasks. She found herself spending more time with her mother, taking long walks in the park, and even enjoying the quiet moments she had once neglected. It felt strange at first, but as she allowed herself to slow down, she realized how much she had been missing. One evening, after a particularly peaceful dinner shift, Emma sat down at her desk, looking at the diner's financials. For the first time in a long while, she was able to look at the numbers without feeling the weight of constant pressure. She smiled, seeing the steady growth, the positive feedback from customers, and the success of the second location. Things were going well, better than she had hoped, and she felt a sense of relief wash over her. But she knew there was still more work to do. The mentorship program had grown exponentially, and Emma was more committed than ever to helping others succeed. She had built a network of successful business owners, and now, it was time to expand the reach even further. She started working with local schools and organizations to provide resources for aspiring entrepreneurs, offering mentorship and guidance to those just starting out. Emma knew that the journey was far from over, but for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel the weight of it all resting solely on her shoulders. She had built something that was bigger than herself, and it was helping others achieve their dreams, just as she had achieved hers. One evening, as Emma walked through the diner, her team working seamlessly together, she paused and took a deep breath. She had done it. She had built the life she had always dreamed of, and now, she was helping others do the same. As she looked around at the bustling diner, the success stories of her mints, and the smiling faces of her customers, Emma knew that this was just the beginning. She had come a long way from the shy waitress who had first opened the diner, unsure of what the future would hold. Now she was a mentor, a business owner, and a leader in her community. And with that, she smiled to herself, knowing that the future was full of endless possibilities. As Emma looked at the thriving diner, now with multiple locations and a growing network of successful mints, she couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought her here. She had worked so hard to get to this point, and the success she was experiencing was something she had dreamed of for years. But with success came new challenges, and Emma knew she was ready to face them head on. The diner was no longer just a place to grab a meal. It had become a symbol of her hard work, her determination, and her belief in the power of second chances. As her team continued to manage the daily operations with ease, Emma began to step back even further, focusing on the mentorship program and expanding her influence in the business world. She had always believed in helping others, and now, with the success of her own business, she had the platform to do so on a larger scale. But even as she celebrated her achievements, Emma knew there were still areas where she could grow, both personally and professionally. One evening, after another busy day at the diner, Emma found herself sitting in her office, reviewing some of the latest feedback from her mates. She had been working with a new group of entrepreneurs, each with their own vision and challenges. As she read through their stories, Emma realized how much she had grown in her own journey. She wasn't just a business owner anymore. She was a leader, a mentor, and a source of inspiration for others. And yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was still more for her to accomplish. It was at that moment that Jack walked into her office, a smile on his face. "You're looking deep in thought," he said, pulling up a chair. Emma smiled back. "I guess I'm just thinking about the future. I've come so far, but I feel like there's more I can do. I want to help more people, expand the program, maybe even write a book or speak at conferences." Jack raised an eyebrow. "You've already done so much, Emma. But I get it. There's always something more to reach for. What's stopping you from doing it?" Emma sighed, feeling a little overwhelmed by the weight of her ambitions. "I guess I'm just not sure where to start. I've been so focused on the diner, the mentorship, everything. Sometimes it feels like there's not enough time in the day." Jack nodded, understanding her struggle. "It's easy to get lost in everything. But maybe it's time to start thinking about how you can leverage what you've built to take it to the next level. You've created a brand, a community. Maybe it's time to think about how you can scale that beyond the diner." Emma thought about his words. She had built something amazing, but could she take it even further? Could she become a larger figure in the business world, a leader who inspired others to take risks and follow their passions? The idea of scaling her impact was both exciting and intimidating, but Emma knew it was something she couldn't ignore. "Maybe you're right," she said, her voice thoughtful. "I've been so focused on the day-to-day that I haven't really thought about the bigger picture. I want to help others build businesses, but I also want to share my story on a larger scale. I want to show people that they can overcome obstacles and build something meaningful, no matter where they start." Jack smiled. "I think that's exactly what the world needs right now. You've already proven that you have the drive and the heart to make a difference. You just need to find the right platform to share it." The conversation with Jack left Emma feeling inspired and motivated. The next day, she sat down and began mapping out a plan for how she could expand her influence. She decided to start by sharing her story in a more personal way, through writing, speaking engagements, and even a podcast. She knew that sharing her journey could inspire others to take the leap and pursue their dreams, just as she had. But even as she started to take the first steps toward this new chapter, Emma felt a twinge of doubt. Was she ready to put herself out there in such a public way? The idea of stepping into the spotlight was intimidating, but Emma had never backed down from a challenge before. And this felt like the next logical step in her journey. As Emma worked through her new plans, she began to see her future in a new light. She realized that the diner was just the beginning. Her true passion was helping others, whether it was through mentorship, sharing her story, or building something bigger than herself. Emma had never imagined that her journey would take her to this point, but now that she was here, she knew there was no turning back. The possibilities were endless, and she was ready to take on whatever came next. With Jack's support and the lessons she had learned along the way, Emma knew that she had the strength, the wisdom, and the heart to succeed in anything she set her mind to. And for the first time in a long time, Emma felt truly excited about the future. She was no longer just a small-town diner owner. She was a leader, a mentor, and an inspiration to others. And she was just getting started. As Emma embarked on this new phase of her journey, her vision for the future began to take shape in ways she had never expected. She had always known that success wasn't just about building a thriving business. It was about creating a legacy, something that could impact people's lives for generations to come. She had built her diner from the ground up, and now, she was ready to help others do the same. Emma's mentorship program had grown tremendously, and the stories of her immense success were starting to fill her with a sense of purpose she hadn't felt before. It wasn't just about helping someone open a business. It was about teaching them how to create something meaningful, how to pour their passion and soul into their work. She found herself being inspired by them as much as they were by her. But now, Emma was ready to take the next big step. After months of helping others build their dreams, she felt that it was time to put her own story out into the world. She had built the diner, mentored countless entrepreneurs, and navigated the challenges of running a successful business. She had overcome self-doubt, faced failures, and learned the true value of resilience. It was time to share those lessons. Emma had always been a private person, and the thought of stepping into the public felt daunting. But she had learned that sometimes, you had to push yourself out of your comfort zone to achieve something greater. One evening as she sat in her office, her mind racing with ideas, she took a deep breath and picked up the phone. She called Jack, who had been her sounding board throughout this entire journey. "Jack, I think I'm ready," she said, her voice steady but filled with anticipation. "Ready for what?" he asked, sensing the change in her tone. "I'm ready to start speaking publicly. I want to share my story, my journey. I want to write a book, give speeches, and help even more people realize that they can do this too. I've spent so long helping others, but now it's time for me to share the lessons I've learned." Jack was silent for a moment, letting her words sink in. "Emma," he finally said, "I knew this day was coming. You've got a story to tell, and the world needs to hear it. I believe in you." With Jack's encouragement, Emma began to map out her next steps. She reached out to local organizations, book publishers, and speaking engagements, and soon, she found herself being asked to share her story at conferences and business events. The more she spoke about her journey, the more she realized that her story wasn't just about building a diner. It was about overcoming obstacles, embracing change, and using her failures as stepping stones to success. Emma began to travel, giving speeches to aspiring entrepreneurs, sharing her knowledge, and inspiring people to take the leap, just as she had done years ago. Her words resonated with audiences, and Emma found herself connecting with people in ways she never had before. She had built something extraordinary with her diner, but now, her influence was expanding beyond the walls of her business. She was helping others build their dreams, one step at a time. As the months went on, Emma felt more fulfilled than ever before. The diner was still thriving, and her mentorship program continued to grow, but now she had the chance to touch even more lives. She realized that she was no longer just building a business. She was building a movement. Her story was one of resilience, determination, and the power of believing in yourself. Emma had learned that true success wasn't just about achieving your own dreams. It was about helping others achieve theirs. She had always wanted to make a difference, and now, she was doing just that on a much larger scale. With each speech, each story, and each person she helped, Emma felt a deeper sense of purpose. She had started with a small diner, but now, she was part of something much bigger. She had found her true calling, and it was more fulfilling than she could have ever imagined. One evening, after returning from a speaking engagement, Emma sat at her kitchen table, a cup of tea in her hands. She reflected on how far she had come, how much she had accomplished, how much she had learned, and how much she still had to give. She realized that the journey was far from over. There would always be more to learn, more to give, and more lives to touch. And for the first time in a long time, Emma felt truly content. She had built a legacy, not just through her business, but through the impact she had made on others. The future was filled with endless possibilities, and Emma knew that she was just getting started. The diner, her mentorship program, her speeches, none of it was the end of her story. It was only the beginning. As the years went by, Emma's journey continued to evolve in ways she had never imagined. Her diner had become a staple in the community, a place that symbolized not just great food, but a story of hard work, resilience, and community. The mentorship program she had started had grown into a powerful network, reaching people from all walks of life, all striving to turn their dreams into reality. Emma had become not just a business owner, but a symbol of what could be accomplished with determination and a willingness to help others along the way. She had helped hundreds of entrepreneurs, from small bakery owners to tech innovators, and each success story was a testament to the power of shared knowledge and support. She had learned that success wasn't just about building your own empire. It was about lifting others up and making sure they had the tools they needed to thrive. But even as Emma achieved what she had set out to do, she knew that the journey wasn't over. The world of entrepreneurship was ever-changing, and she wasn't done yet. There was still so much to learn, so many people to help, and so much more to experience. One day, while sitting in her office at the diner, Emma found herself reflecting on everything she had accomplished. She had created a business, a mentorship program, and a movement. She had faced the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, and with each challenge, she had come out stronger. Her mother, once frail and sick, had seen her rise to become the woman she had always dreamed of. Emma's success wasn't just hers. It was the result of years of hard work, determination, and the support of the people around her. As she sat at her desk, her phone rang. It was Jack. "Hey Emma, how's everything going?" His voice was familiar, comforting. "It's going great," she replied, smiling to herself. "I've been thinking a lot about where I want to go next." Jack's voice softened. "You've already done so much, Emma. But I know you. There's always something next for you. What's on your mind?" Emma paused, her thoughts swirling. "I think it's time for me to take the next step. I've been helping others build their businesses, but now I want to help change the way people think about success. I want to create a platform, a place where people can come together to learn from each other, to build not just businesses, but lives that are fulfilling and impactful. I want to change the narrative about what it means to succeed." Jack was quiet for a moment, processing her words. "I think that's a brilliant idea, Emma. You've already shown the world what's possible when you help others. Now, it's time to take that on a bigger scale. I'm with you every step of the way." Emma felt a rush of excitement. She had always wanted to make a larger impact, to help people see that success wasn't just about financial gain. It was about creating something meaningful that made a difference in the world. With Jack's encouragement, Emma began to lay the groundwork for her new project. She wanted to build a platform where entrepreneurs could share their stories, their struggles, and their successes. A place where they could connect with others who understood the challenges of building something from nothing. It would be a space for learning, growth, and collaboration. Emma spent months developing the concept, reaching out to thought leaders, business experts, and other entrepreneurs to join her. She wanted to create a space that was as much about personal growth as it was about business. It wasn't just about the numbers or the profits. It was about creating a culture of support, where people could come together to uplift one another. When the platform finally launched, it exceeded even Emma's wildest expectations. Entrepreneurs from all over the world began to join, sharing their stories and offering advice. It quickly became a vibrant community, one that was centered around collaboration, growth, and the belief that success was about more than just individual achievement. Emma was proud of what she had built, but even more proud of the impact it was having on others. It was everything she had hoped for, and more. As she continued to lead the platform, Emma realized that she had found her true purpose. She wasn't just building businesses anymore. She was helping people build lives. Her journey had come full circle, and she knew that the future was bright. There was still so much more to do, but Emma had learned that with every challenge came an opportunity to grow, to help others, and to make a difference. And for the first time in her life, Emma felt that she had truly found what she was meant to do. The journey was far from over, but she was no longer afraid of what lay ahead. With the support of her team, her mints, and the community she had built, Emma was ready to take on whatever came next. She had built something incredible, and now, it was time to see just how far it could go. This is a collection of truly touching stories that highlight the power of perseverance, resilience, and the drive to help others. Each narrative shares the journey of individuals who overcame obstacles, learned from their failures, and built successful businesses. These touching stories serve as powerful reminders that success is not just about personal achievement, but about helping others rise to their potential. Whether it's the inspiring tale of a young waitress building a diner from scratch, or the entrepreneurial journey of a mentor guiding others to success, these touching stories will leave you feeling motivated to follow your own dreams. By sharing her experiences, the protagonist not only builds a thriving business, but also empowers others to create their own futures. These touching stories explore themes of community, support, and the importance of finding balance in life and work. As you follow the journey of Emma, the diner owner, and mentor, you will discover how touching stories can inspire action and create change. With each chapter, You will see how one person's determination and generosity can ripple out and positively impact countless lives. These touching stories are a testament to the incredible power of kindness, hard work, and mentorship in making the world a better place.